Have you ever had to make a bathing suit and you didn't have a pattern? Well, no fears. I'm going to show you in this video how to make this really simple, easy, quick bathing suit for yourself or your family member. All that's coming up next on Sewing with Nyler. To get started with our bathing suit, I just have a simple piece of paper. This is my pattern. I chose not to pull out my big table, so I'm just going to work off of my regular table here. And I just took two thin pieces of paper and taped them together. You can use newspaper, which is wider, so use whatever you have for a pattern. And I'm going to fold this in half. All good patterns start with a sketch. With my sketch, I kind of drew out just a simple bathing suit. It's a little casing where the tie will come through and it'll just tie in the back. And you'll just put some elastic in this little casing here also. And also what I didn't mention is the center crotch. I want this piece to be separate. So I went ahead and measured the model that's going to be having this bathing suit made. So to start with, I have the long length of the front, which is 22 inches down. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 22 inches. And I'm going to put a mark right there. That's my 22. And you know you always have to have seam allowances, so I'm going to add an inch at the top and an inch at the bottom. So we're going to make this 24. So 24 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. So this is my longest portion, and I'm going to fold it in half because I want to make sure that the top is just as even as the bottom. I just want a rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and even if it's not perfectly straight, it's fine too. So now I have that. That's the base. So now what you want to do is determine how long you want the area that's going to connect to the crotch. And I'm going to say 5 inches. I know that's probably too long, but since this is folded in half, I'm going to measure 2.5 inches. So that's going to be my mark to give me my arch. Now, I know that the bust is 28 inches, so that's 14 in half. But if I take 14 and 14, that would be 14 for the front and 14 for the back. So half of 14 would be 7. So at the top, I'm going to measure 7 inches, and as you know, I want to add an inch on the other side. So I'm going to mark 8 inches there, and I'm going to mark 8 inches over here. So that gives me 8 inches at the top. I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm just going to say, for the sake of argument, that this half mark is the waist. The waist is 22 inches. I'm going to divide that in half. That's 11. So half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 5.5 inches, and I'm going to make it 6.5 because I want the extra amount. So I'm measuring 6.5 there. So this is giving me the measurement for the waist. And then the top portion, so I'm going to draw this waistline all the way down. That's the waist, lightly. And the hip measurement is 32. So half of 32 is 16. So half of 16 is 8. So down here in the fullest part, which I'm going to go about halfway the distance from the waist to this area. Or if you want to, you can go down about 4 or 5 inches on this person, and that's still going to put us about half. So now I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to actually measure 9. So I have the measurement for the waist right here. So now I need to do the measurement for the actual hip, and it's about halfway between here. And since my hip measurement is measuring 32, half of 32 is 16. 16 and 16. Half of 16 is going to be 8. I'm going to measure 8 inches across. And because I want this to be a little bit longer, I'm going to measure 9. So here at the bottom, I'm going to take this and arch it around to that point right there. Okay, so now I have one of the arches to the bathing suit. So our waist is 22 or 23. So I'm going to say 22. Half of 22 is 11, so you got 11 for each side. Half of 11 is 5.5. So since we got the measurement for 5.5, we're going to do 6.5, and that puts it right here. So now you can see the arch coming into play, and here's our waist. So we're just going to draw a straight line from there to the waist, if I can draw a straight line. And of course we're going to curve it, so we're going to bring this, and I want to round this, and we know the bust is 28. So since the bust is 28, now I'm coming in about half. Now we done finished the waist, so now we're up here at the bust. Half of 28 is 14. Half of 14 is 7. Add an inch, that's 8. So we're going to measure 8 inches, and we're going to put a little mark right there. So now I'm going to open this up, and now I'm going to draw this waistline measurement to the bust. So now, as you can see, bathing suit is beginning to take shape. From the bottom of my bathing suit to the top, where the top portion is, this is where I've already got it cut. So now that we've got the bust area, and we're going to come up a little bit more for the bust, and we know this is the front section here, I'm going to do 3.5, and I'm going to add an inch, so I'm going to do 4.5. So here's my 4.5 inch mark right here. Since this is the bust, this is where we're going to angle the bust. Okay, so now as you can see, you've got the bathing suit. I don't know if you can see that, but you see you got the bathing suit marks done. Okay, now that this is done, because our bathing suit portion up here is going to be a little bit wider because we're going to gather it up, I'm going to make this a little bit wider. So I'm going to bring this out maybe about another 1.5 inches. So now we're going to take this bust and we're going to go out. Now this extra that we did here, this is going to give us for the gathers. So the next thing to do is to simply just cut it out. And now that we've got it cut out, we're going to open it out. Here is your waist, and because it's kind of cut in a jagged, we're going to round off that waist on both sides, and I'm going to fold it back in half when I cut it, so that way when you cut one side, you're actually cutting them both. And I'm going to round this edge also. And what that did is it just made that curve or the waist a little more softer. We're going to open this up, and we're going to also work with the back. Now remember, the back portion is going to stop right about here. So what you want to do is take this and simply fold it down like that, so that it comes right at that line. And it's okay if it's a little lower because it is the back. And then we're going to open it back up. And now what you're going to do is you're going to draw out that fold line where you just fold it. And I'm just freehanding this because I got the little mark right here. Then I'm going to put a mark, fold here for back. And then when you fold this down, now you have the back. Alright, so this is it. This is the simple bathing suit pattern that I was telling you about. So now it's time to go and cut it out. So since we're maneuvering this pattern to work for the back and the front, let's work with the crotch. Okay, I know that my front crotch area is 3 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and measure now. And it should measure about 4. It's measuring about 4.5 or about 4.25, which is fine. We're going to leave that because we're going to turn up for the elastic. And for the back, so I'm going to go ahead and write the front is 3 inches and a cut of 4 inches. And then on the back, our back measurement is 5. So we're going to say the back is 5 inches, and it's actually 5.5. And the cut is going to be 6.5 because we want 1 inch. That gives us 1/2 inch on each side. So whenever we go to cut the back, we got to remember to extend this out a little bit. I have a piece of the pattern paper that I'm going to use for the crotch. And I'm going to take the front piece and I'm going to fold this in half so it looks just like the crotch or the front area. And I'm going to lay it down for the front. And you want to mirror this. You want to make sure it's the exact same size. Now that we've got the front measured, I know that the entire crotch distance is 5 inches. I'm going to allow 1 inch total to that, so that's going to make it 6, which is going to give me a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off because I already know that this is going to be the finished length of the crotch. Now the front was 3 inches and we measured it 4, which is 1.5 inches plus 1 inch, which makes it 2.5 inches. The back is 5.5 inches, so we're going to add an inch to that, so that's 6.5 inches, so that makes it 3.25 inches. So we're going to measure 3.25 inches and put our mark right there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut, I'm going to cut this just like this. So that lets us know this is the back and this is the front. So now what you want to do is open this back out and you're going to write on here, you're going to write front and back, and you're going to measure. This is 6.25 and this is 4.25. So to cut the back, extend 1 inch each side. And I'm going to draw an arrow here, and I'm going to draw an arrow here. And that's going to tell me what to do. Because if we put this here and you line up, let me show you, if you line up the front and the back together, you notice that they're 1 inch apart each. So now we're ready to cut.